Christmas is approaching, and as usual, Thanksgiving gets the short shrift. But that's the way it goes. In this video, I'm going to create some Christmas trees. The first tree I'm going to make is one that's gold. And first of all, to do that, let me tell you that the program I'm in is in Affinity 3. I still have 2 videos out there that are in Affinity Photo and Designer, but I've switched over to Affinity 3, and there is something that I really like about it that I discovered, and I'll be showing you that in this video. I already have opened the file, and to start, I'm just going to go to File and New, and then select Legal. I'm not too picky about what kind of document that this is going to be on. I'm going to use the pen tool to draw my tree. And this is going to be a simple tree. There's all sorts of trees out there that you can look at the patterns and all that stuff about what they are. But before I use my pen tool, there's something that I want you to notice about Affinity 3 that is not true with Affinity Designer. That is that something I always use, the elastic mode, is not there. It's usually one of these. So here you see pen mode, you see smart mode, you see polygon, and line mode. So you have to go look for it. And it happens to be in the settings. So if you click on settings, under general settings, here we are, here's the rubber band mode. Now, one thing they haven't fixed that I find really irritating, before when they had it up in the context toolbar, you would have to click it every time you opened the program because it would automatically shut itself off. Well, this one does the same thing because I've been using this and I never unchecked the rubber band mode, but notice that when I opened the program this time, the rubber band mode is unchecked. So we're going to have to recheck it. I really wish that they would keep it to where the rubber band mode stays on. I know that a lot of people don't like using it, but I do because it gives me a way to look at where my next line is going to be. So we'll get out of that, and now we've got our pen tool and we have the rubber band mode, and I'm going to start right here and put a dot and then go up here and see how with the rubber band mode the line that you're going to be drawing appears, so you can see where this is going. And of course, you know from previous videos that if you get something that you don't like, you can always fix it once you go into the node tool. But I'm just going to draw all the way around like that, and then down, and then up again, oops, up again, up here, and like that. So I really want, what I'm after is sort of a zigzag effect here. Now once we have our design, you just exit out of there so we can get out of the pen tool. And then I think I want to make it a little bit smaller. That's a little bit big. So I'm going to select the move tool to where all of this gets selected, and then just shrink it down a little bit and put it right there. And now I'm going to go to the node tool because I don't know how picky you want to be on this, but I want to get rid of some of the kinks. So right here is a big kink. I want to get rid of that. And so I want to move that around to where I can round that out like that. And here's a kink. So the way you get rid of the kinks and round it out is to use the handles. Try not to move the, although I do it, move the nodes around too much, because the handles will usually get you what you want. And here's one where See, and you can kind of see with the handles that that's usually the problem, is all you have to do is move the handles around and it will get rid of the kinks. And like that. So I can just work and get rid of a lot of those kinks like that. Make that a little bit bigger. So now let's click out of that and take a look. Okay, now I want this to be a gold tree. Originally, I was just going to make a wide stroke and then fill it with gold, but I never really could find the kind of gold that I wanted. So instead, I decided to go out and look at a gold type of background. So the color was the problem and the type of gold background was the problem. And so what I did was I went out and I'm going to go out to File and Place, and I'm going to go and look for this. This is what I brought in, and I'm just going to open it and then put it over my tree like that. And then I'm going to move the tree curve up above my yellow background, and I need, on this curve, I need to make the stroke a little bit wider, but I don't want it to be this color. I want it to be white, but I'm going to increase the width first. So I'll increase the width to a width that I want for the tree, and then I'm going to go back to color and just make it a white color. So I'll go over here to swatches and select white. Well, come on. I don't want that. There. Okay, so now I have a white tree, but we want it to be a gold tree. Let me go over to stroke, and I think I made it about 10 the last time. So now see how this is cramming up against that? We can fix that later on. But I think I had maybe about a 14 or 15 width stroke the last time, so we're going to leave it like that. Okay, now we've got this white tree on top of this yellow. So what you're going to do is you're going to click on the tree, the curve, and then right click, and then go up here and click Create Clipping Mask. And so that will give you the color for your tree. And this is what we want. Okay, so this is a good start. Right now it just looks like a bunch of mustard that you squirted out, but it won't for long. And I want you to look over here. Here's your clipping mask, and here's your yellow tree. Right now we want to give it an effect because we want it to look a little bit more 3D. So I'm going to go down here to Effects, FX, and then move that out of the way so we can see it. And I'm going to give it a 3D effect. So I'm going to click on 3D and fiddle with the radius until I get the 3D I want. And so I'll put it around 10 or so. I really don't remember what I did the last time, but we want our tree to be 3D. We also want a profile. So this black box, just click on it and you're going to get a bunch of profiles, and this is going to give you the edge on your 3D right now. So we can pick this one, makes it look like that. We could pick this one and it looks like that, this one, and so on. And we can also pick this one and then move it around to make it look a little bit different, or whatever you want. So you can do that. I'm not going to do all that. I'm just going to click one. I decided, because I did this before, that, well, let me show you these other ones. You have this one. It has a lot of points, so you can adjust each point and make it a little bit different depending on how picky you want your shadowing to be. So I'm going to click right there on this one. That's the one that I am going to use. And so that's going to be my profile. Now what we want is we want an ambient color. Ambient light is the light that's in the room, and it's what gives you your shadows on your object. So I'm going to click on ambient color, and I want on this one to be kind of an orange color. Let's see if I can get the color I got before, a little bit more orange than that. I think that's about what I got. So I'm going to pick that orange color for my ambient light, and then I'm going to adjust the ambient light and see how much it changes. See, now that just looks terrible. And then you can go all the way back here and make it dark, but we want a gold color. So I want the ambient light to like reflect off of it so that I get this color. Let's turn it up a little bit and see what it does. And then we can fiddle with the direction of it. Put it over here. And so we can get the direction of our ambient light. Okay, now let's go back up to the 3D radius again and see what happens if we change it a little bit. Okay, I think I didn't make it this much before, but I think I'm going to do that. And then once I'm done, I will click off of that, and this is what our tree is going to look like so far. Now, if you want, this is something else that you can do. You can adjust. See how this kind of molded together? Well, you can fix that. So all you have to do is to move it, and then move that out a little bit so that it won't, and then fix this one. So move that out a little bit. You know, I still want my rounded edges. Okay. And make sure that our edges aren't touching. I have one where all the edges are touching, so I don't guess it matters. It just kind of depends on what you want. Okay, so I have that. And let's click out of there, and this is what we have. Now we need a base for our tree to sit on. So I'm going to go out here and go up to the trapezoid tool and draw me a little base, a base for our tree. And move this over here so it's right under the tree. Like that. And I'm going to want my base to have a green fill on it. So I'm going to change that, go to swatches, and I don't want these Pantones yet. I'm going to come back to those. And I just want to go to colors, and I'll get me a green color for my tree. I don't want a fill. Come on. Okay, so I'll give me a green fill, maybe a little darker, and that's the kind of fill I'm going to have for my tree. I want some effects because this is 3D, but this is flat, so I don't want it to be like that. I want to give this a 3D effect too. So I'll click on 3D and increase the radius to get the 3D I want. Then I'm going to give it a gradient overlay like that. And I want it to have an elliptical overlay, but I don't want it to be gray, of course. So I'm going to go out here and pick my color, swatches. And maybe a little darker. No, I'll leave it like that. So I'll have that, and then click on this and have a lighter green on that side. Let's go to the sliders and see what we can get. And so I want it to look a little bit like that. So all I did was on this side is I picked one color of green. On the other side I picked one color of green, and then I made it to where it was, the gradient was radiating out elliptically, and then I fixed my sliders until I got the tone that I wanted to get. And so after getting that, I'll close that, and that should be what we want. Now, I want to put stars on my tree, but I'm not going to use the star tool. I'm not going to go in here and use any of the star tools. There's more than one. There's this one, and then there's a multiple star tool, and so on. I've decided what I want to do is I want to use brushes. And I found these brushes, well, wait a minute. I think I'm going to do this. I'm starting to get picky about what this is looking like. We're going to pull that in, make this. I'll probably decide 1,000 times. And so another thing I want to do is to turn this a little bit to where it's more straight like that. Okay, so I want to put stars on my tree, but I'm not going to do it that way. I'm going to use some brushes. And I found some brushes off of a website called Brush Easy, and it was called 1,000 Stars. So since this doesn't have the 1,000 stars, you're going to have to import it. And so the way you import your brushes is you click on the Brushes tab, and then you're going to pull down this caret right here and then click on Import Brushes, and then click on it, and it will go out to where you can find your brushes. And here are my brushes right here. They're called Kruitza 2. Now originally when I downloaded these brushes, see how this icon is Affinity 3? Originally it was Affinity Photo for my brushes, but I imported the brushes and then I went down to look for them and I could not find them. And I cannot tell you how much I looked and looked and looked and couldn't figure out what I was doing wrong. I thought maybe I needed to click on the paintbrush tool and all that sort of thing. And there was no paintbrush tool over here and that didn't work. And then finally I figured it out. Those brushes are supposed to be from what we used to call Affinity Photo. This time it's called Pixel. And this is what I really like about this. I've done all this work in what we used to call Affinity Designer, which is now Vector Studio, but I want my brush and it's not there. But it is over here, and all I have to do is to click Pixel. And there we are. And there's my paintbrush tool, and if I pull this down, there are my Kruitza 2 paintbrushes, and all I have to do is to click on them. I was so happy because I searched and searched and searched and could not figure out why I couldn't see them. So the reason, if this happens to you and you import paintbrushes and you don't see it in the vector piece, then all you have to do is to click on the Pixel Studio, and I bet you dollars to donuts you will find it. Now the first star I'm going to use is this one, 48. So I'm going to click on that. Better make sure that's selected or we're not going to get anywhere. And I'm going to make it bigger because the first star I'm going to put is on the top of the tree. So I want it to be bigger, and I want it to be kind of a silverish gray color. So in order to get that, I went down and went to pastels and neons and clicked on that. And then I selected a grayish color, a pastel grayish color, that would make my star look sort of silvery. So I don't even remember what I picked, but I'm going to pick this one, and then I'm going to click on top of here, and that's going to give me my star, and you'll see that the assistant has added a new pixel layer. Then I'm going to make this a little bit smaller, and I'm going to put a star down here on each one of these. I've tried several colors on this, and generally I've sort of liked the grayish ones the best. So now you have stars on your tree. Now what else I did was I went back up here and chose the smaller one, the more condensed one. It's really not more condensed, but it's got kind of a a little star, but it's got a lot of rays outside. And for that one, I wanted something else. I wanted the pastels and neons, and I wanted a yellow color. So I don't remember which one I picked here either, but we're going to go with this one. And so I can mouse over this, and I'm going to make it a little bit bigger. And so we've got that star right there, and I'm going to click on it, and there we have that yellow star right in the middle of our gray star. And then I'm going to make this little, and click there, click there, click there, click there, 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 and there. This is my tree. We'll go back to layers, and you can see all the layers. And if you want to group them together, you can do that so that you can move your tree around. So this is my first tree all done. I'm going to make two more. All the difference is going to be is I'm going to make a silver one and a green one, and I will show you those at the end of this video.